I want to ask you this, Dr. Chloe. So I was thinking about dating apps, and we've talked about this on the show before. I was talking to this young guy. And this was a few years ago. He was like 26, and he was a virgin and hadn't had a girlfriend. And he was saying that it was basically impossible. And through the conversation, it was interesting. Basically, what he was saying was that, you know, everyone dates through Tinder and other apps and stuff. So he's on there, but he can never get any responses. And I was like, interesting. I started reading some data from dating websites, and it looks like what may be happening in colleges. You have 20-year-old men and women. Let's just use an average age. They're all on Tinder. The 20-year-old man has no status, has no wealth. He's in college. So when he reaches out to a peer, a 20-year-old woman, and he says, want to hang out? She goes, sure, what did you have in mind? We can go to the courtyard and we can like talk. And she's like, that's cool. Then she swipes right on a 30-year-old guy who makes $70,000, $80,000 a year. He's got a nice car. He's got his own apartment. And he says, you want to hang out? And she goes, what do you want to do? And he says, we can drive to the lake, go see a movie, and then come back to my place. I've got drinks. And she goes, done.
Yeah, even more, he doesn't just say you want to hang out. He says, would you like to go have dinner, right? You know, I feel like from the start, he's whining and dining a little more.
So it feels to me that dating apps have expanded the dating pool so massively that young men no longer have a peer group in which they can find a mate. And higher status men now get access to basically every available woman. So what we started seeing is, this was reported by the Washington Post, that I think a third of men under 29 were virgins. And, you know, unmarried as well, not dating. That was, I think, 4 years ago. So it's probably gone up since then. Something is happening. I'm wondering if you, you know, what your thought is on dating apps, and if you would agree with.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said about the numbers game, and, you know, the fact that now that 20-year-old woman as well, she's going to be this like hot item, you know, if she's open to going out with 30-year-old guys, right? So it really shifts the dating dynamics. And then also, you know, I've read something similar about the virginity rate, like amongst, you know, very young people. And I think it may also have to do with the proliferation of porn, you know, as Seamus was saying. I mean, to really get out there and like, you know, find somebody, it's even for a one night stand, you know, it's not easy, right? You have to take certain social risks. You have to put yourself out there. You have to deal with rejection. You know, there's so many hurdles that you have to clear. And if young men are able to get their appetites, you know, pretty much fully satisfied from the comfort of their own home for less money and less effort, I can see where they would have less motivation as well. And then, as you said, if the dating app dynamics are making it even harder for them.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely correct. And it's not just that their need is satisfied in some sense. It, by virtue of what it is, you only have to think about yourself in your own pleasure and not another human being who you're involved with. And on top of that, it's very sad when you see how the dynamic is played out, because men will point out the fact that women have all these options on these dating apps. The reality is most women want to find one man to be monogamous with, and they're not able to do that because guess what? The guy they're interested in, because he's at the top of the dominance hierarchy, so to speak, he's got a bunch of other women who are into him, and he's messing around with all of them, and he's not going to commit to any one of them. So it's this horrific like sexual hellscape where no one gets what's going to make them happy.
Or it's a revert to a primitive state where the alpha just gets all the women.
Yeah, we need a dating app called Genghis Khan, where the dude just goes on there and has, I mean, because that's basically what's happening.
It's just
anyway.
one guy, the guy who made the app, and only women can sign up. I'm pretty sure what chimps do is like the chimps all beat the crap out of each other, and the chimp who wins bangs all the girls, all the women.
You know, it's also interesting too with prides of lions, when the males from a warring pride come and like defeat the males of another pride, the females of the defeated pride will immediately go sleep with the victorious males.
Not loyal, man.
Wow.
You know, but I mean, also, Seamus, to your point about them getting their needs satisfied, you kind of touched on something there that I think is important too, which is that young men who are sexually inexperienced, you know, virgins, they might think that they're getting their needs satisfied in the sense that like that they're seeing porn and they're having an orgasm. Check.
Yeah.
But like they don't know the pleasure of like being with a woman and, laughing together and the touch and the intimacy and the fun of it, because they haven't experienced it. So they might think that they're getting satisfied, but they don't realize that they're not really getting it all.
Yeah,
and to be fair, I think a lot of them know and are very bitter about that. I think a lot of them know that they're not really getting a full, authentic experience, and that they are sort of being cynically exploited by the people who produce this kind of hideous stuff, and that it's inhibiting their ability to have real relationships.
When
But Ian,
you have an orgasm alone in your room, you're losing a lot of fluid. Like, there it goes. But when you're with a woman, you're introducing the fluid to them. They're introducing the fluid to you, and so you're getting something. You're not just a net loss when you're with someone. It's a trade, and that's a very different feeling, emotional or like chemical experience.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a better way. I think this may be more accurate. There's like the exchanges in what you smell that triggers certain blood flow and release of chemicals in the brain, right?
Yeah, there's definitely things that you smell. But I mean, it's also even the sense of being held and squeezed and, just felt and loved and kissed and known. I mean, there's an interpersonal component to sex.
Of course. Yeah, but isn't that insane that you should even have to say that? Like, it's been so stripped.
Confidence.
When men and women smell each other, their blood flow increases, their blood vessels dilate, chemicals get released in the brain.
I think it depends on how he smells, to be fair.
For sure.
For the woman. I think if he smells...
No.
I was making a joke.
No. So the point I'm making is that if the woman is attracted to the man, or if the man smells... I'm not saying the smell makes the attraction or the attraction makes the smell, but there is a correlation between a man smelling good and a woman being attracted to him.
Pheromones at the very least.
There's that famous documentary series they did, The Science of Sex, where they had a bunch of dudes run on treadmills, took their shirts off and put them in jars, then had women come in and smell each shirt and rate whether it smelled good or bad. Mm-hmm. And it turns out the women who said the shirt smelled, the women said some shirts smelled bad, they would be related to that man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They said, oh, this one smells good. They were not related. If it smelled bad, they're like, that was your brother. And she's like, oh, wow.
I noticed also...
You didn't even need to see him to know it's not a mate for, it's not a potential mate. It would be bad, right?
And it's funny because I've known girls who really complain about the way that their brothers smell.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. And then I was reading that they tell women if they're going to get married to get off birth control.
Yes.
Because it negatively impacts their sensory reception to the man. Mm-hmm. And then when they stop taking the birth control, they say, stop taking it, wait a few weeks, and if your man smells bad, you can't get married.
I've noticed also about sexual intercourse is that it builds confidence. And I like the word confidence because it has the word confide. Like, you're actually confidant, and you're basically interacting with another person in this really primally evocative, proactive manner. And you're able to make eye contact, for instance, and it's like the level of confidence that you get out of that is not even remotely there in porn. It's nothing like that. Nothing. It's a completely other. It's basically having a friend, like a really good friend.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I could see where porn would almost be like the opposite, right? Because you're sitting there and you're either paying some website or you're basically doing something where you're validating to yourself almost the idea that you can't get somebody or whatever, So it's almost invalidating.
Mm-hmm. But it's also it warps people's minds. The weird stuff on the internet is so far outside of the realm of reality. It used to be like a dude would be like, I'd like to be in bed with that woman. Now it's a guy being like, I would love to swing from a ceiling fan while bungee jumping, just all the weird, crazy.
Yeah. And it really fosters that, right? Because if you are in the context where you are married to a woman who you're having sex with, you love this person, you don't want to do anything to her that would be considered degrading. So if there is some intrusive thought or weird fantasy, you're not going to indulge it. With pornography, first of all, there's no one there to check you. So there's no one there to be like, that's a weird thing to want. You can literally search whatever you want. And then people are obsessed with novelty. And so they search for more and more deranged things. And when you look at the fact that erectile dysfunction rates have increased as much as they have, it's almost certainly attributable to the wide accessibility of pornographic materials, especially to boys who are still teenagers.
I think Jordan Peterson talked about that, right? Like young, maybe I'm wrong. But I was reading something where young men are watching this ridiculous, fake reality stuff, and then when it comes to the real world thing, they're like, I don't know what this is.
Exactly.
But I do want to say, look, man, I think if people want to be kinky and do stuff in the bedroom and be whatever they want to be or whatever, I got no issue with that. My issue is when people start separating themselves from reality with weird stuff that's just like I said, like swinging from a ceiling fan while jumping out of a plane and then throwing the ceiling, just like weird. That's not going to happen. I mean, I guess if you want to, if you're rich enough to make that happen and you want to bang someone while jumping out of a plane,
there's a big difference between two people having sex where they're not looking at each other, they don't even know each other's, they don't care. It's just two bodies smashing together. The girl's in pain because it's like so hard, and then the situation where it's two people that are connecting to each other and they feel each other's bodies. They're not moving to hurt. They're not ignoring the other person while they're just pounding. And it's like, but the internet doesn't know how to differentiate between that. And so the kids see both and they don't know what's supposed to be good or bad. And then you get the warping effect.
Kids shouldn't see it at all.
There's another argument. Average age now is 11 that kids are seeing porn.
To Tim's point also about just what we call a need for an increasing stimulation, right? So the first time maybe that you sit down and look at porn online, you're even just getting some adrenaline from that because, you're doing something taboo. And so your body, because of the extra adrenaline, will actually sometimes have a more intense sexual experience. Like there have been some studies even that showed that people who just walked across a scary bridge that was really old and rickety, that they would rate people as more attractive than people who had just walked across a very safe bridge. So when people, use porn to a certain degree, it's almost like a drug. But then once you've seen the same stuff a million times, it becomes sort of ho-hum. And so then people just need to keep doing, as Tim was saying, stuff that's, even more and more bizarre to kind of keep up that sort of a hit. And then there's the other factor, which is that these sites make money by getting you to spend more time on it. And so they'll be popping up stuff that you might never have even thought of, but there you are with your body physiology all turned on to the point where you could look at a baked potato and think it was sexy, right?
And then you end up with a guy in the hospital with a broken light bulb in his ass.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what were you thinking, dude? It's like, I was on the internet.
So, I mean, your studies of psychology, what is like a good tactic for people to maintain that adrenaline rush with their partner?
Well, so I actually have an article about that. It's called Don't Have Chemistry with Nice Guys. Here's how to change that. If anybody wants to email me through my website, I'll send you a copy of the blog if you can't find it. But so what I suggest people do, like it's kind of old fashioned, but like that's why people go to horror movies on dates because like it kind of like gets things going a little bit,
right.
Or even going to like new places, new restaurants, that kind of thing, escape rooms, anything that just gets your blood going and gets that kind of excitement going will kind of transfer onto the sex.
Yeah, actually, I actually read that when women are scared, they generate a stronger bond with the person they're on a date with.
Yeah.
Correct. They need to.
And so there was, I think it was a study about they monitored people on dates and they had them walk across a rickety bridge. And the women reported like higher bonding or satisfaction with their date when they were walking across a rickety bridge. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, trauma bonding, right, is not a real phenomenon. And I'm curious about this.
Well, it's even just the increase in adrenaline, right? So when you have more adrenaline going, your heart is beating faster, you're getting a little sweaty. It's almost like the same as being turned on, and so you're just experiencing all of your physical sensations more intensely, and also you're blocking out thoughts of anything else because your mind goes into this tunnel vision.
Yeah, fight or flight.
Yeah.
But I think even beyond the studies we've done on this stuff, there's like the joke in TV shows and movies where the guy stages a mugging to impress the date. It's like that we just knew that. We knew that
my point.
You go on a date with a woman and then if the guy defends her, he looks tough, it's attractive. And then we do science, we're like, oh yeah, that actually happened.
Or the girl stages a damsel in distress moment and the man comes to her rescue.
Yeah.
Are there dietary things that can improve adrenaline?
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.